Hey everyone, welcome to my TED Talk for my Carceral Feminism's Race, Gender, and State Violence class. My name is Jessica, and today I will be using course readings and sources to discuss the inequalities in the criminal justice system towards women of color and why we need to acknowledge these disparities in order to prevent the state from abusing their power and move towards a more just society for all identities. Anna Terrell discusses the MeToo movement, which was founded in 2006 by activist and survivor Tarana Burke. In 2017, the MeToo hashtag went viral and brought attention to the problem of sexual violence. Today, the MeToo movement continues to focus on assisting survivors, including young people, queer, trans, the disabled, Black women and girls, and all communities of color. Although the MeToo movement aims to disrupt the systems that allow sexual violence to proliferate in our world, Terrell discusses how the movement might be doing more harm to people of color than good by unintentionally prompting the use of the criminal justice system, which results in the use of mass incarcerating people of color to address the problem of sexual assault. Authors have argued that feminists have enabled punitive policies that harm not just those who commit violence, but also make marginalized women more likely to be arrested, prosecuted, or deported when police respond to domestic violence. Black women and Indigenous women have the highest rate of sexual assault. Indigenous women are 2.5 times more likely to suffer from sexual assault crimes compared to all other races, and 1 in 3 Indigenous women reported having been raped in their lifetime. Yet they are rarely named in the national conversation about sexual violence. Critics have also argued that the MeToo movement lacks representation and inclusion, as women of color have been reporting harassment, rape, and sexual assault, however, continue to be silenced. Although racism persists today and is institutionalized, the message that this movement has sent to women of color is very gendered, as only wealthy and white voices are heard because they fit the category that matters to the majority of society. Structures such as the prison system create gender inequalities for women prisoners in society. Women of color receive even more specific treatment within prison, including experiencing intersections of racism, male domination, and state strategies of political repression through the institution and members a part of the system. Angela Davis discusses the way women prisoners are treated during everyday routines and mentions Asada Shakir's time while in prison. Shakir explains her experience during strip searches as violating and something that could be labeled as sexual assault or rape if individuals conducting these searches did not have the power and authority that they do. Women of color are more likely to be arrested, prosecuted, or deported by the police than any other group in society, and state actors abuse their power toward women of color within and outside the prison system. Kimberly Crenshaw reviewed LAPD's statistics reflecting the rate of domestic violence interventions by precinct because such statistics can provide an idea of arrests by racial groups. However, given the degree of racial segregation in LA, the LAPD would not release statistics. Domestic violence activists both within and outside the LAPD feared that statistics reflecting the extent of domestic violence in minority communities might be selectively interpreted and publicized to undermine long-term efforts to force the department to address domestic violence as a serious issue. Carceral feminism, which is a reliance on policing, prosecution, and imprisonment to resolve gendered and sexual violence, presents a binary choice between the criminal legal system and informal community justice practices. Carceral feminism allows critics to overlook rather than engage in feminist disagreements about the state and sexual harm. It narrows focus on alternative solutions to harm the plural nature of prison abolition, which may include efforts to seize the state and to problematize carceral logics. Carceral feminism impacts women through sociological, economical, and political systems in society. Racism draws powers to encourage sexual abuse and rape, and through capitalism, the class structure encourages men who hold power in economical and political systems to become agents of sexual exploitation. Both racism and sexism can be seen as central in the strategy of increasing economic exploitations. Davis mentions that during the Vietnam War, soldiers were taught that it is acceptable to perpetuate sexual assaults in war zones and were encouraged to commit these acts of violation. State actors that are supposed to maintain law and order, such as soldiers, police officers, and actors working within prisons, need to be trained on how to approach situations in an adequate way and not abuse the power they hold. Terrell mentions that if individuals want to engage using an intersectional feminist framework, they need to consider all the identity markers that make up an individual and understand that the current prison and state system that is in place will not work to solve these problems because the organization was not created for Black people, people of color, or individuals from groups that are labeled minority. A new approach is needed in order to help individuals from all identities in society and avoid creating further discriminations and disparities. Through a broader social context, providing training and evaluations for police officers can help them maintain social order and promote equality. On an individual level, using your voice by joining a march, reading a book, and teaching others about how the criminal justice system mistreats people of color is important when taking the first step to create change in our society. Thank you for listening.